Hi, Zachariah Jackson, BASA News. Today I'm here in Plainfield, but we're talking about a church that's in Scotch Plains, St. John's
Baptist Church.
St. John's Baptist Church, which everybody seems to know. And we relate that church with the late Bishop Porter, the late great Bishop Porter.
Yes.
Which I had the honor of being there to record probably more than half of his funeral. So we have that out there on the internet. Okay, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Johnetta Bush.
All right.
And I'm Gloria Smith.
Johnetta, what was your job at the church? What did you do?
I was minister of music, played every Sunday. Sister Gloria is one of the directors that I played along with her. I trained the choirs, I played for them. I led most of the musical part of it, and just a minister of music.
Okay, and you?
And basically, I was pianist director for years. I trained as well. I sang. I taught them everything, for preparation for worship.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do we start? This is very kind of like a complicated interview because you both were fired.
Yes.
At the same time.
At the same time. Our story is basically the same. Yes.
And who was behind that you guys got fired?
Well, the pastor.
The new pastor.
The new pastor, Pastor Wallace.
Okay.
Well, actually, we heard it through the grapevine that a new minister of music was coming in to St. John's through a phone call. So I called Pastor Wallace and I asked him, told him what I heard. He said that there was some validity to it, but he had not made a final decision. And I said, well, it sounds final if the church that this young man is coming from is already announcing that he's going to be the minister of music here.
Well, let me ask, so walk us through this right here, Johnetta.
Okay.
How exactly did it happen now? Like, we know Sunday is the big day, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So did you hear about it before that Sunday, or how was it?
We heard about that Wednesday.
We heard
That
about
Wednesday.
That Wednesday,
Yes.
right.
And you guys still was slated and scheduled to go for Sunday.
I was rehearsing my choir on Thursday for Sunday, which would have been the second Sunday in February. And I was in rehearsal and didn't have a clue, but heard about it the day before.
Okay.
So, and the only reason I heard because Johnetta called me and asked me had I heard, because she had received that news, and
So you received the news
I received a phone call
from the pastor?
No, from a choir member saying that the new minister of music was coming. So I called the pastor. I called him. And he said there was some validity to it, but he had not made any final decisions, and that he was going to be speaking with the new person coming in the following weekend. And I said, well, what is your plan? He said, well, when I speak to him, I'll speak to you.
So, in other words, you still, in your mind, was basically scheduled to come to work that Sunday
Oh,
morning.
absolutely.
We
absolutely.
actually went to work that Sunday.
Y'all did go to
Yes,
work.
we went to
Okay,
work.
so can
I
you...
had just prepared a choir for Sunday service.
Right,
And
okay.
A, I'm a professional, and B, well, before I'm a professional, I am a Christian, and I try to be a godly woman. So, and being clueless, I had prepared them, but when we went in to the meeting, he tried to dissuade us from coming. He said, well, if you don't feel comfortable in coming, you don't have to come. I said, I just prepared a choir to come and sing Sunday.
But now, when you said that, he said that the Reverend said that if you don't feel comfortable coming, but this was Sunday. You went to church Sunday, is that correct?
Yeah, but this is the Thursday night
before that Sunday.
Before that Sunday that he was releasing us.
Right. He, as I said, he told me, he was going to be speaking to the young man, but then the next morning, Thursday morning, he texted me and told me that he wanted to meet with me and Pastor Gloria that night after rehearsal.
After that Thursday night rehearsal?
After her rehearsal on Thursday night. So we go into the meeting, and he had Deacon Chisholm, Deacon Coleman, and Lillian Bullock there with him. And he said that he had met with his executive board, and they gave him permission to do what he was about to do. And he said, Sunday's your last day. And I said, Sunday's our last day? He said, yes. And he said, I'm bringing in a new minister of music. I'm wiping the slate clean with the music department. He said he's going to bring in his own people, his own drummer. So I'm wiping the music slate clean.
So more than you guys lost your job?
Well, the drummer was, the drummer that we had, yeah.
Wow.
We had a drummer that was.
So, okay, so did you go to church that Sunday?
And he said to us, he said, you don't really have to come on Sunday if you don't want. The church is going to give you a gift. I said, a gift and not a severance package? I said, after 25 years, he said, I said, I've been faithful for 25 years. He said, to whom? I said, to this church and my ministry. And he said, well, the church is going to give you a gift. You don't really even have to come Sunday if you don't want to.
So did you guys go?
Yeah,
Absolutely. He spoke to Gloria first, and she said, I just prepared my choir, so I will be there. And he said,
So what was the atmosphere when you guys walked in there on Sunday? I know that we all believe in God, but
Yeah, but it was a sort of.
it was just business as
seemingly-
usual.
Yeah.
Until the end, it was business as usual.
so y'all went
We were
there
doing
and you did everything.
everything. The entire service went just like it always does. He never mentioned it. He has a segment in the service where, after the announcements are made, he does his little pastoral observations, and nothing was said, nothing at all.
But what was it feeling inside of you guys while you was actually?
I was
Well,
hard
actually,
upset.
you're sort of like on the stunned side for when
I'm still
when
stunned.
you've given that kind of vigor and vim and
Sure.
and you're all really, because we do ministry. That's
Sure.
just as simple as that. And it was sort of a low-hanging cloud, but yet you know I don't do this for me. We do it to the glory of God.
Sure.
So in doing so, we served.
Yeah, we served. Prior to that, he told us in the meeting, he said he really didn't have to advise us of anything because
He
New
was
Jersey's
in
an at-will
at-will
state,
state.
and he didn't have to explain anything to us.
And at will for the audience meaning, can you explain what that means? Actually, at will.
It means that you can fire someone without notice.
For no reason, he said.
Yeah, he said for no reason. He also said that you have nothing in writing. I said, well, we've been paid by some agreement, and Pastor Gloria said to him that a verbal agreement was just as binding as a written one. And he said, but your agreement was with whom? And we said, Pastor Porter. And he said, he's where?
He said he's dead. And he said it.
So you don't
with
have an
such
agreement with the
And
church.
he said it like that.
With such
Just like
venom,
that.
he's dead.
Wow.
Yeah. So we said, well, yeah, he might be dead, but the contract
agreement.
is still viable because we've been working under the
Sure.
same contract. Even when he died, we still worked under that contract.
Yeah.
Verbal or not.
How long has Pastor Porter been?
He died
He
in,
died in, was that
15,
in
was it?
14
yeah,
or 15?
15. It was 15.
Yeah, so it's about 14.
So that's about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
but it's, yeah.
So what, at this point of challenge, what is the energy in the church now? I mean, I'm sure you guys are greatly missed.
Well, the energy level then, I'm going to go to that day, was sort of seemingly, and it could be me, but it seemed to have been a sabotage. All of a sudden, no mics are working. And this is my own thesis, that it seemed to have been sabotaged to say, well, see, this is a reason why I'm having to change my music. They wouldn't even turn up the volume on the mics that day.
Sure.
And the only reason anything was said because Johnetta decided that she wanted to at least say goodbye. And
At the end of the service, I stood up because he didn't say anything during the entire service about me or Pastor Gloria saying we were leaving, that he was making a change. He didn't do any of that. And once a month, we initiate a meeting with him. In fact, when he first came to St. John's,
Sure.
we took him out to breakfast. So Pastor Gloria and I. We went to the Rise and Shine Diner on Terrell Road and Front Street. Took him right up there, and we sat down and said, Pastor, we know that sometimes when a new ministry comes in, they have their own people. Does that involve us? He said, absolutely not. No. I said, well, you're going to have people running to you saying A, B, C, D. He said, I'm making my own decisions. He said, I'm not doing it. I'm just observing for a year.
Okay.
And he left. I said, well, y'all say for at least a year. So we all laughed about it. It was no big deal. But once a month, I initiate the meeting with him and say, Pastor, is it anything? What do you need from us? We both do.
Sure.
What is it you need from
As
us? What is
musicians,
it? Yeah.
Musicians.
Yeah, so we can. I said, so that we're on the same page. I said, is it pertinent that music ministry and the pastor are on the same page? So please tell us what it is you want from us. Never anything. He never mentioned one time. He did say at one point that he wasn't pleased with the music ministry. He said when he runs the playback, it's not what he's looking for. I said, well, Pastor, I said, St. John's is an
Tell
old
us.
people church, including me. I said, if you want to build a brick house, you got to have bricks. I said, give me something to work with, and I'll make it happen. I said, we're professionals. I said, the Lord sent me all over the universe.
Yes,
I go to
yes,
all
yes.
different countries and continents, training people that can't even speak English to sing the word of God.
That's
And so
right.
give me something to work with, and I'll work with them. I said, we're doing the best we can with what we have. So I stood up at the end of the service and I said, Pastor, can I please say something to my St. John's family? He said, well, wait until I take this new member in. So he took the member in, and I said, I don't know if all of you know, but this is mine and Pastor Gloria's last Sunday here. And the gasp went through the church like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. I was sort of appalled at the fact too that when he was letting us go, I said, it's not what you're doing. That's your right if you want to change.
Sure.
It's how
The way. Yeah.
you're doing this. And I said, if you're comfortable with the way you're doing this, then God bless you.
Yeah, he said, but you reap what you sow. And I said, and somebody yelled out and said, what are you doing? What is happening? He said, come to the church meeting and you'll find out. And I said, this is my last Sunday. And I said, for 25 years, then I started crying. My granddaughter took the
church
mic.
started crying, a
Yeah,
lot of them.
yeah. And my granddaughter took the mic. She said, he's letting Sister Gloria go and my grandmother go. And they've been here faithful, 62
Sure.
years between the two of them. He said, but it's okay because God has their back.
Never.
God had, and people were crying, and one lady came and said, please just stay, please, what can we do to make you stay? I said, we didn't leave by choice.
Hands, yeah.
We didn't leave by choice.
So a case like that right there, where you in a church, St. John's in Scotch Plains, the pastor don't actually own the church, right?
No, actually in the Baptist church, the governing body is the people.
Okay.
The people have the final say, but lately my church has not been taking anything to the people. So
Your church being St.
being
John's.
St. John's, they have not been taking anything to the people. If he had apprised the people, I think they would have had he would have had a sort of different kind of outcome.
But isn't it something that he actually has to do? He has to go through the deacons, the body. The
Well, normally if there's, especially if there's conflicts, see, we have a thing that where we can unanimously agree, but we can't unanimously agree if you have not brought it to the body.
Sure.
So the thing of that, the executive, his executive board, he said, sanctioned him to do what he did without having taken it to the church. That's why the church was aghast. And that's why.
But wouldn't his executive board be a part of the church itself, or is he make his own?
But they trust, the church trusts the leadership, the executive board, and the joint board to recommend make sound decisions for them. Church people don't really want to fight. They just
Sure.
want to come in and
Praise the Lord.
praise the Lord and go home, really.
Yes.
And then if it comes to that, but that vocal minority is the one that's stoking the fire. And so the silent majority sat back and they're aghast because they had no clue. We had no clue.
That's right. And a lot of the deacons didn't know. They didn't know what was happening. They didn't bring it to anybody but those 5 people that are obviously in his corner, and I guess they're like yes men or whatever, but they didn't do anything to defend us. And they've known us a whole lot longer than they've known him.
Sure,
and
sure.
they should have stood up and said, these are our musicians, these are the musicians that were here when we had a pastor, when we didn't have a pastor before you got here, and we were going to do them right. He didn't say a word about
do
us.
it the right way. We didn't even challenge him as per what he did. It was how
You did it. You could have. I said you could have let us know. I started crying. I said, Pastor, you know you're wrong for this because you know this is the way I feed my family. He did like this.
Shook
Yep, just shrugged his shoulders.
Shrugged his shoulders. Wow.
And that's when he said, New Jersey's an at-will state. I didn't really have to let you know anything.
Well, someone had to say something on the day.
Well,
that-
Well, he was going to probably call
the
us
day
back
that
in
you
his
come
office.
to go to.
He was going to
Go
probably
to the
call us
organ or
back.
whatever.
No, he was going to wait until after the service.
service.
I
And
believe
then
him.
call us in his office and say, this is your last day. But he told us 3 days before, this is your last. No warning, no nothing. Now, if he had told us, now, first of all, according to our agreement with the church and with Pastor Porter, we get, our vacation starts with the first day of January. So if he had told us and prepared us any kind of a way, we could have taken those vacation days and found somewhere to go.
Sure.
Found somewhere to go. Now the word out that he's telling everybody is that we knew a year ahead of time. He told us 3 months ahead of time, and that's just
Well, he wasn't there a year ahead of time. Was he? How
But
long
he's been there.
He was been there. He
that's
hadn't been there
exactly
a year. No, it wasn't a year when he
In
let us go.
February.
It was in February because he got installed in. They had elected him in
installed
January,
in,
but he got
March.
installed in March.
Okay.
And so
His actual first day was January 1st.
But he wasn't installed
until March.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he let us go, it wasn't even a year. But I mean, to just be that callous and uncaring, he really didn't care.
Ungodly, really.
Wow. Okay, so all right. Did you guys get paid for your vacation time?
Absolutely
No.
not. He gave us 1
They
week
gave-
and
well-
said, "Toodly-doo. Take this 1 week and keep it moving." Basically, that's what he should have said. I would have appreciated it better. But he acted like it was. But that's what I said to him in the meeting. I said, "A gift and not a severance package after 25 years of faithful service."
Yes.
And he said, "Faithful to who?" I said, "Faithful to my ministry and to this church."
Okay, let me just ask you this question here. Do y'all know the new minister of music? Do y'all know him?
Well,
at all?
I met him.
Familiar with him?
Actually, I met him and his wife. They, Brandon and I think her name is Christine McCune. I met them. I performed a wedding at Shiloh Baptist Church. That's where they were.
Okay.
And don't know them.
No, but
know
just
them.
right.
But I know that he went to school with Sean, and he is Sean's son's piano teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and he did make a comment that he had promised him 2
2
years
years
prior
ago.
that
if
whenever he moved up, he
he
was
gonna
going to move him
okay.
up too. Yeah.
But not necessarily St. John's, wherever he went.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
was
I
coming
think
to
he
St.
kind of had
John's.
a promise that he was coming to
Come
St.
to-
John's
Yeah, he already
anyway.
knew he
So
was
he told
coming.
him when 2 years ago, he told me, he said, when actually Brandon is a personal friend of mine, and I promised him 2 years ago that when I made a move, he was going to make a move. I said, well, Pastor, you could have told us that.
Sure.
You could have told us that. And so we've been meeting on a monthly basis for almost a year. We meet with him every single month. I'm in his office every Sunday morning seeing if there's anything in particular he wants. I'm texting him during the week because, I select the hymns or whatever.
Sure.
And I'm talking to him on a regular basis and asking him, is there anything you need from me? When he first came, he told Pastor Gloria and I at that breakfast that, there were certain praise songs that he liked. And I said, okay, Pastor, tell us what the songs are.
Sure.
He said, I'll get back to you. And he never did.
Never did.
Never did.
Let me just flip the interview just a bit, because we're starting to see this happening where people are bringing their friends along or bringing their family along. Can the church, because that the actual structure of the church is just a building. Where we at now can be a church, because the church is a living organ that we just can't touch. It's a living, breathing organ that we just can't touch. But can the church run like a corporation, like a Johnson and Johnson?
That's-
you know what I mean?
that's-
That's what it seemed like. It's
That's exactly what he said. This is business.
It's
My
being reduced
response
to-
was, it's too much business in the church and not enough
Sure.
church in the business.
sure.
And if you want to treat it like a business, then that's how you can't have it. You can't serve two masters.
Sure.
You're going to
sure.
either love the one and hate the other. That's
Well, we were
scripture.
starting to see that a lot in the churches today. That they seem to coming along more so like
because it's
like a
more
corporation.
entertainment. Yeah, it's more entertainment.
yeah,
It's not.
yeah.
It's not.
Can we
worship.
survive that way? Can the church survive that
No,
way?
I don't
the church
think so.
cannot survive that way. Not God's church.
Sure.
Not the universal church. The church has been reduced to just op-eds and Sunday hip hop and entertainment.
Yeah.
No ministry, no
No foundation.
feeding of sheep, and no worship and praise, no real worship and praise. Just a mockery.
So at this point, you mentioned earlier that the pastor think I have a lawsuit against the church now.
Right.
Okay,
We did file a complaint
a complaint.
with civil rights because he did bring somebody in much younger to do the same job that we were doing
Sure.
with more money.
Took
And a
both
contract.
our and a contract. Took
And a
both our
contract.
salaries to accomplish that.
Wow. So you put both of y'all salaries together to make one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then The drummer is getting 4 times what my grandkids were getting to do it, and my grandkids were there for everything.
Wow.
So,
So we're basically losing the family orientation in the church. And it's spinning off more so like a corporation, like a business, or, Wall Street business. Wow. So where we at now at this point, there's no chance of you guys sitting down and getting your job back, is that correct?
well,
They refused to discuss anything with us, even from the complaint.
yeah.
They doubled down and they have disavowed certain knowledges of anything, and even down to the time that we've come or been there. But they have not said, well, we'll sit down and negotiate or renegotiate, or
Sure.
what can we do to increase your comfort, or what can we at least give you your vacation pay. We didn't mean to. I mean, anything would have done. We would have been happy with 3 months and our vacation pay.
Okay, all right, so let me, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The verified complaint is just what it is. We just made a complaint about what was done to us that was
Sure.
wrong. It's not a lawsuit.
Okay.
We have not initiated a lawsuit, and that's
this
what
point.
is being right at this point.
At this
And that's what's being told to the church and to the community, that we have a lawsuit against St. John's. We do not. The complaint is saying to St. John's, let's sit down and negotiate
Sure.
with these and get some closure to it.
Sure.
But he's not putting it out there like that. It's so that we can look like the bad guy. In fact, one of the members lost her son, and both of us have been friends with this family. This is Pastor Porter's
Sure.
family.
Okay.
And they wanted us to minister at the funeral. We got, the mother spoke with Deacon Chisholm because Pastor was out of town, and he gave her permission to use Pastor Gloria and I. Now, when Pastor came back, which was this past Sunday night, he called the bereaved mother and told her that we could not minister in St. John's because we have a lawsuit against the church. And so
Which is false.
which is completely false. We put in the complaint. We can complain. He can put in
Sure.
a complaint about us.
Sure.
All you got to do is answer it, and then they'll tell you, we'll get an arbitrator, we'll sit down and see if we come to some reasonable conclusion with this. But they have not done that. And that's the main thing I want to get at, that we have not sued St. John's.
Okay.
At this point, we have only logged a complaint so that we can sit down and talk. But they have not even followed through with that.
Okay, at this point, what do St. John's owe you guys financially?
Well, financially, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's really going beyond finance. I personally now need awareness and attention brought to the way the church has been reduced to treating the church's people.
Sure.
And the church needs to stand up and be godly enough to do the right things about whether or not that's an employee.
Sure.
The Bible says that a servant is worthy of their
Sure.
hire. So and if I'm worthy of my hire, then how do we do this?
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned, I know that I'm doing my vacation pay.
Sure.
Because that's my right.
And how much vacation pay are you doing?
Well, actually 4 weeks.
4 weeks that you
Yeah.
haven't received. What about sick time?
We didn't get sick. We just, if she had to be out, I would cover.
Okay.
And if I had to be
Likewise.
out,
Okay.
she would cover.
And what you think they owe, what do they owe you?
I think they owe us at least a year's salary.
A year's
because
salary,
they
at
we've
least.
been there 20, I've been there 25, she's been there
That's
37.
in terms of
At
severance
least-
pay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to get to that in a minute, but I'm talking about in terms of vacation pay. What do you
Oh yeah, they owe me 5 weeks.
5
'Cause you get
weeks.
one Sunday for each Sunday that you play. So I
Okay.
play 5 Sundays totally. So you get one Sunday.
for each Sunday?
Yeah, for each Sunday. If I play first Sunday, I get 1 week's vacation for the year. Second, third, fourth, and fifth.
So
I play every Sunday.
Okay. So in other words, have no one reached out to you
No.
guys to say, hey, here's your back pay,
No.
No.
your vacation pay?
And he had no consideration for the fact that we were out of a job on Sunday and did not have a chance to try to. I mean, I've
Make
been
an
pinch
adjustment.
wheeling here and there,
Couldn't make an adjustment.
because yeah.
The only reason I was able to make an adjustment, I do have a husband who will feed me.
Right.
But other than that, this child's only livelihood.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Wow.
That,
That's deep.
yeah, it's very deep. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate too that Christians, you don't see Christians as being this devious.
Yes.
You know, but it has come to that.
We haven't gone around bad mouthing him or the church, but this is what's being done.
But you
to
feel
us.
that he's actually bad mouthing you
He is
guys?
bad mouth when he's telling everybody, and
Did you have a
the ones
lawsuit?
that side with him, you know, they got a lawsuit against the church. So there was no reason in the world for him to deny that woman, the bereaved mother,
Yeah, this woman should be
Yeah,
concentrating
yeah.
on trying to bury her son.
son, yeah, what she wanted.
of
It's that you try to, the Bible says, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. We should try to comfort her. And what she wants for her son and her family is what should be important. Not the fact, even if we had a lawsuit. I mean, as a pastor, I mean, you got to have compassion for the people.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
you meet some disgruntled people that's not as nice as Pastor Gloria and I. People go and shoot up the church and shoot up everything else.
Yes,
But, you know, we have the love of God in us. And so, you know, that was just, to me, that was just wrong to do her that way, especially at the last minute.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, all right, I'm going to ask you this right here. If we put two pastors together, Bishop Porter, what we call a bishop.
He was a bishop.
Yeah.
He was finally ordained a bishop.
Oh, he was?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Because they said there's no bishops
In the Baptist church.
Right.
They sort
But
of
he's-
like got away from that, yeah.
Yeah,
But his
he's a bishop.
son actually consecrated him to, you know, like elevated him to bishop.
Yeah,
Donna
Bishop
Billiard.
Hilliard.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Bishop Hilliard.
Okay, okay, yes, all right. If you had to put two pastors together, Bishop Porter and the pastor at St. John's now, what is his name?
Sean Wallace.
Sean Wallace, you have to put them two together. And you were on the same, walking down the same path. Would they even out at all?
No.
Wouldn't even be in the same room.
Pastor Porter had a
Was
real
compassionate.
compassion for the people. I mean, he was a blessing to me and my family the entire time we've been at St. John's.
Sure.
Never a problem. Even when I was sick, when I lost my daughter, never skipped a beat with me getting my paycheck, or you know, looking out for me. You know, even to the fact when I wasn't making that much money at St. John's, and like I said, that was just my total way of income. He would call and say, tell me, bring the boy, and y'all meet me at the A&P and just give us groceries and
Sure.
everything else that we need. Just a
Absolutely.
compassion for the people, because he knew I wasn't, you know, sufficiently able to take
Sure,
care of my
sure.
family. So he just had a passion for the people. I called him late at night when my daughter was very ill. Him and Sister Porter always
Come
on
and
point.
pray, come and get your people out of jail, whatever.
Yeah.
He was a real pastor. He didn't slough off on his responsibilities.
Okay. That's just a lot going about with that.
Oh.
We ain't been there.
No, we still take
Oh,
But then, how would you? Can we survive with the new modern pastors, the new style of pastoring?
If you notice, it's more and more chaos with the new style even. And my Bible tells me that God is immutable. And we always, and I know for the times that you've got to develop some kind of way to reach the masses.
Sure.
But then if God is immutable and his word doesn't change, how do you come and change? You still got to make the world conform
Sure.
to Christianity.
Sure, sure.
And if we just sit back behind the firing lines of sloveness and we sit there and we're complacent and then we want God to adjust and align himself with us and his will better be our will, the church will not survive.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's what I am so afraid of, because everybody is evoking their own will and not caring about the will of the Father. If we exacerbated our way and our means and go out here and compel men and women on these highways and byways, and the wages of sin is still death, but God's gift is eternal life. If we develop some programs that would go and feed some of these people and clothe them and,
Sure.
and house them. It would impact the world, even if you gave somebody a kind word.
Sure.
But the church is not doing that. The church is just sitting back, and then we microwave church. We come and we sit down, and when our little hour is up, then hey, look, God, see you later. You know, I've got things to do. You know, but no, the church will not survive. God is not pleased with what He sees, and yet I'm not downing the church. The church is still the best thing that God has
Sure.
here on earth for His people.
Sure.
But how do we reach them? Most of us trying to be, we don't preach fire and damnation or hell and damnation anymore. We don't preach that Jesus is coming back. This same preacher made Jesus compete by having his installation service on Palm Sunday.
Wow.
That blew my mind. So now every now and occasionally, instead of and we did not reverence Jesus, then that's the highest and holiest days of the year.
Sure.
And we've got to compete with a meek and lowly lamb being sacrificed for somebody's
Sure.
ego.
Wow.
Well, that didn't resonate with me then, and I went and I approached my deacons and I said something about it. But of course, you know, I am the lone voice crying in the wilderness when it comes to that.
Sure.
Not necessarily, but that's just, you know, me speaking. But I'm saying, if we don't speak up and speak out,
Yes.
we are lost. We are lost cause. We are lost world.
Johnetta, let me ask you this right here. I'm going to come back to you, Gloria.
Okay.
If you had, well, I'm sure you have some words that you would like to express to the Reverend at this point.
Mhm.
Can you say, if as though he was here, what would you say to him right now?
I would say, just like I said before, Pastor, you were wrong for what you did. Not what you did, but how you did it. Because you could have warned me. You could have let me know so that I could have some sufficient income following so that I could take care of my family. This is
Sure.
how I take care of my family. And I don't hate him. That after we finished with the meeting, I'm a hugger. I went up and hugged him just like usual
Wow.
and said, thank you, Pastor. And I left. So that's what I say. I still have the love of God in me, but don't try to cut me completely off from St. John's and my, you know, the ties that I have there.
Sure.
Because I have ties that
Predates.
predates whatever
Yeah.
he's doing right now. And I mean, I still love him in the Lord. I'm not going to hell for anybody.
Sure.
I love you. I mean, I don't have to like what you did or
Sure.
like the way you did it, but I still love him. And if he was to ask me to come and play right now, I would do it.
Sure.
Because what I do, like she said, is for the glory of God.
That's right,
It has
that's
nothing to do with man, has nothing to do with whether I like you or dislike you.
Sure.
It has to do with God and the love of God that's in me. And if I can't love past somebody doing something dirty to me, then what good am I?
Sure.
I'm going to be hell bound, and I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I scuffle too hard to live holy and to live right before God. To do, you know, to hate somebody because they did me dirty. People gonna do you dirty. They did Jesus dirty.
Sure.
He didn't come off the cross and grab a frying pan and start hitting people on the head, saying, "You do this to me."
Maybe he should. Maybe he should.
Some of us humans think maybe he should have. You know, because we feel the pain.
Yeah.
Gloria, what would you say if he was sitting right here and you had to give your last expression about his situation? You had to give an expression.
I would simply say vengeance is the Lord's, and to use immature tactics and rhetoric that's not pleasing in the sight of God, I would just simply say, be a good pastor, be a good leader.
Sure.
It's more to pastoring and leading God's people than your optics and your op-eds, and there are hungry folks that need feeding. There are people that are discouraged and in despair. You know, they need hope. They need to find hope. So I would simply say, Pastor, you know, just do what's pleasing in the sight of God,
Yes.
not what's pleasing in the sight of man. And since you want to keep church and state separate, then don't use the state when it benefits you,
Sure.
and then come and use the church when it benefits me, because the church is still the foundation.
Sure.
And the church, if you follow God, then people can follow you as you follow Christ.
Sure.
So be a good steward
Yes, yes.
of what has been entrusted in his hands.
Okay. Zachariah Jackson, BASA News. We're going to conclude this interview. And just a word to the wise that, you know, again, it's not how you do things. You know, it's why you do them. And it's a way of doing things with dignity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a minute is just past. But when you look at these two individuals at St. John's Church, a Baptist church in Scotch Plains, they come with more than a minute. They come with time. Through that time, feelings have been, people have been healed. New directions to people, dreams have been fulfilled, far than their dreams, just because they ministered through music. So, can we write them off? I don't think so. Good night.